Computer. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good
I want to welcome
morning.
you to the very first YouTube video for OTSI, nonprofit maintenance. And I had a couple slides I was going to show you, but now I don't know how to get to them. So I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Sally Rutledge. I'm the owner and founder of OTSI. OTSI is a federally certified nonprofit specialist, state of Illinois, state of Mississippi, and state of North Carolina. I'm spreading out. And I've been doing this for over 40 years, working with nonprofits and starting actually with volunteering at the United Way when I was in third grade. And so by bringing in United Way today, I think it's really, really important to do this because I was talking to these beautiful women before we got started here, before I found the record button. Thank you. Is that people don't understand what United Way does. So today we're going to actually go through what United Way does. And I have three brilliant leaders that I am so fortunate to know that are joining here today. Karen Nall with the Grundy County United Way. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
I've
for
known
having
Karen
me.
for a long time. She did training for me at Nonprofit Academy, and she was brilliant, of course. And we've got Kathy Evangelista with
Hi.
Batavia United Way. Kathy, hi. I've known you for quite a few years now, too.
Yes.
And the newest one that I've connected with in the last couple months, and we found out we're like the same person, is Kelly Honiotes at the United Way of Eastern LaSalle County, they're all in Illinois, by the way. You've got
Yes.
Grundy County, which is Morris and the whole area, Batavia, which is just Batavia area, and Eastern LaSalle County, which is big because LaSalle County is one of the largest counties in the state of Illinois still. So
Right.
welcome to you all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for doing this. I'm like so excited about this. I told my husband, I put makeup on. I started it out. And I painted my fingernails. These things don't happen very often with Sally anymore. So it's going to be like I'm talking in third person, Sally, when I'm talking to Sally now, because I said, I said I have a really great fun Sally. I went to school with Sally's, and we just have to hang out. Now, you're all going to make fun
Do.
of my cat eye glasses, but that's the way it is because they have jewels. All right, so now let's get started. Karen, I think
Yes.
I think you're the veteran United Way leader sitting here. I think
Oh, maybe.
you've been doing it the longest. Karen, how long have you been with United Way?
So I became the executive director for the United Way of Grundy County in September of 2010. So this year I celebrate my 15th year here.
Karen, I'm
Yeah,
so lucky to have you.
very exciting, and I'm so grateful to my board to entrust me back in 2010 that I could do what I'm supposed to do and make a difference in the community. And prior to that, I served on nonprofit boards. I was a grant writer, development director for several nonprofit agencies that are funded by United Way. So all in all, about 30 years with nonprofit field.
See, that's you have a servant's heart, you just
Yeah.
servant's heart.
Yeah.
I have pink hearts.
Oh,
I know.
oh.
You can see pink is kind of my color, which is like opposite of my like personality. So maybe that's why I like it so much. Kathy, tell us about Kathy and Batavia, please. How long have you been there?
I've been in this role as executive director for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was on the board of directors for 3 years, and that's how I initially met you, Sally. But even before that, for about 10 years prior to that, I was a volunteer for one of our the holiday Adopt a Family program, although I didn't realize it was a part of United Way because I was with another organization at the time. So I've been involved in some way, shape, or form for the last 15 years with the United Way.
Well, that's awesome. They're very lucky to have you as well. Yeah, I work with the Batavia United Way quite often and do their legal policy manuals, do training, and make sure their bylaws are updated. And I am so impressed every single time with how high functioning this volunteer group is.
Thank you.
You
Thank you so
you
much,
ask
Sally.
really good questions, and sometimes I have to sit back and go, that was a good question. I need to look it up. So you don't need to know where I need to look stuff up. And thank you again for doing today, and thank you for your servant's heart as well. Sal, my gal,
Yeah.
tell us.
So I have been with United Way of Eastern LaSalle County for 18 months. So I'm the newbie. I'm the newest person. And before that, I have worked in nonprofits most of my life. So from being a development director with a local organization to running 38 counties, supervising 38 counties for another nonprofit, to being here. And I will say that this has been the most gratifying work that I've done to date.
Oh, they're so lucky that they have you too, Sal.
Thanks.
Again, a huge servant's heart. And what you're hearing from these three women is that, you know, they may be leading now, but they've led up to this, right? I mean, you've been in the nonprofit field, you've seen things done the right way, the wrong way, and you knew that your heart was pulling you in that direction. Because how many of you are going to get like wealthy doing this? Right. Okay. So that's what a servant's heart is all about, right? And if you see a nonprofit where the CEO is making a god awful amount of money, they're doing it wrong. Period. Now, do I think you deserve a fair shake? Absolutely. Do I think you need to be paid respective of the work that you're doing? Absolutely. I'm the biggest one to propose for you every time that there's something going on where somebody says, well, you know, they're offering me, 25. And I said, well, that's poverty. No, we're going to put a negotiation together for you because you're still in a business.
Right.
Nonprofits, the only part of a nonprofit that's nonprofit is the tax stats. The rest of it, you have to run that like a business, and you're all doing that. So let's get started with getting into what United Way is about, because I don't think people know what United Way is about. I was telling Karen, and I think I told Sally before, I have a cute little story. I was in third grade. My parents were very involved with United Way. I was in third grade. I'm just a little third grader, stupid little third grader. God love them all. And my mom and dad said, you're going to collect the most amount of pennies. You're going to win for United Way, and you're going to be a champion. And I'm like, all right. And I had no idea what any of that meant. They gave us these little cardboard boxes, and we were to collect pennies. I collected the most amount of pennies. I had 8 boxes filled with pennies because my parents said I had to be the champion. So I'm like, okay, because do I come from a competitive family? Yeah. So collecting pennies, that was a big deal. So it was the classrooms. I go to all the other classrooms. I had a little speech I had to give. And my father was a partner in gas stations in Ottawa, Illinois. So I would go down after school and on weekends with my little containers, and I would go to all the cars that were getting gas and all the Illinois Power guys that would come in, and they would bring rolls of pennies for me, and I collected the most. I did. And I thank you. Thank you. I got a trophy and a lunch with the principal of my school, who I didn't like at the time. And I was telling Karen I didn't eat any of the lunch, I remember, because it was food I didn't like. And it was out of pit sticks. So that was a big deal, third grade. So my parents were very proud of me. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take thank you cards. But at the time I didn't understand what United Way did. And it really took me a long time to understand. And I know that the typical viewer is not going to understand what United Way does, because they think that you're giving out gas cards and housing allotments.
Mm-hmm.
And when I explain to them, no, they fund the organizations that give out the gas cards and the allowance. So that's why I want to dig just a little deeper into what United Way actually does. Now, I know you've got a lot of different programs, but I want to hear from you briefly what a United Way does. Karen, what's a United Way do?
Well, so we raise funds through local companies, local donors who entrust their donations with us, as we are very transparent with what we do with those funds. So then annually we grant those out through a grant process. Again, keeping those local nonprofit agencies that we fund transparent, fiduciarily responsible, because this is donor funds. From that, then we invest in programs, human service programs that help people in need in our community. I kind of feel like we also are a conduit between people in need and the resources that are available. So we connect people with those resources, and not just typically the ones that we fund, but we need to know about all those resources in our community, not just the ones we fund. And then we also connect people with volunteer opportunities, opportunities to give back, not just money, but their time. And then I think we're a convener where we're gathering our community partner agencies to look at ways that they can partner together so that not one agency is doing all, because we don't want them working in silos. They can't do it all. So we kind of convene them together and create opportunities for them to partner together.
That's like brilliant what you just said, by the way.
What we do.
Well, now poor Kathy and Sally are like, oh my God, now I have to add to this.
They can just say ditto.
Kathy.
Well, it's definitely, what Karen said, but I also think it's difficult to define United Way because each local United Way determines what the community need is.
Mhm.
So what Karen does in Grundy County might be slightly different than what I do here in Batavia, and what Sally does in
Ottawa.
Ottawa, yes. Sticks. Yes, I've been there. So we all, based on the needs in our community and the our community members, as well as the nonprofits that serve those communities, we look for those gaps that exist. We fund the programs that support our communities, but we also look for those gaps and then look to fill those gaps. So we look at information that comes from things like our 211 data, the 211 national call line. We look at what are the majority of the calls coming in about. And when we see that this is a challenge for my particular community, we're going to partner with our community impact partners to build programs, or we're going to fill that gap ourselves. And that's so we have our finger on the pulse of our own communities. And I think that's one of our strengths, is understanding what the need is within each of our communities, which makes it difficult to define because each of our communities are different.
Yeah, but that's a brilliant way to put that too. I mean, it really is, because everybody's communities are different. Batavia is different than Morris and Grundy County and Ottawa. It's a different beast on its own too. So Sally, explain United Way in your area.
So I agree with everything Kathy and Karen said, and it is all that. For me, it's people. It's all about helping people and harnessing, kind of cultivating the community and organizing the community to fill those gaps and to make sure our seniors have, a warm meal delivered through Meals on Wheels, and really impacting our local people. And so we're helping when people donate to the United Way, all that money stays local so they can, they're really investing in their neighbors and their coworkers and, people that they see on the street every day. There are, for us, and I'm sure it's similar for the other two United Ways, is, we impact about 1 out of 3 people in our community. So when you think of that, that's huge.
Oh,
It's really,
that's
you
what
know,
I was telling Karen. I said, I don't think people realize, because they'll probably say, well, I don't use any of those services. Yeah, but either you do, or your neighbor or cousin or friend or does. And
yeah.
a lot of people still are shy about talking about the services that they get. And that's okay. If they want to be private about it, that's okay. You all deal with confidential information and proprietary documents and things that have to be kept confidential for a reason. Enough shame, right? We have to quit the shame on all of this. Now, do y'all get taxes do you collect taxes from all the tax people that are giving
No.
taxes? And that
No.
one I've heard quite a bit. They say, well, I don't want to fund it anymore. I don't want my taxes to go to United Way. And I'm like, well, when have your taxes ever gone to United Way? Well, Jimbo told me that, and I'm like, okay, Jimbo's an idiot because United Way self-funds through the donations and sponsorships and good people of the world that understand giving. So, Karen, I want to come to your United Way as a nonprofit, and I want to be a recipient. What do I do?
Sure.
How does my nonprofit come to your organization in your area and get funding?
Sure. So there's an application process. Ours is annual. Some United Ways go by annually. And there's a very extensive application process. We need to know, what are you going to do with those funds? How many people will it impact? And then we look at, as Kathy was saying, we look at whether there's a need for that. If there's a duplication and some nonprofit is already doing it that we are funding, rather than fund them solely, we might look at partnering those two organizations together and maybe fund the program through both those agencies rather than duplicating services that are already being funded. Our process is about 8 months. And so they go through the application and then there's a site visit. We have to look at their financials and make sure that they're not already in a situation where good money, good donor money is being put towards maybe a program that's already failing. And so our board of directors are the ones that are the liaisons for the funding process. And then we make our decision in the fall. So it takes about an 8-month process, but we look at their 990s. We look at if they're in good standing as a 501c3. We look at their track record. A new upcoming nonprofit may not get funded the first year, but we will look at them for that year and maybe consider funding them. We want to make sure that they are providing services and that those funds will go towards the programs that they're applying for.
Well, you're a catalyst for more than just doling out money.
Oh, right.
I mean, if you're looking at all of this, I mean, and that's why I think United Way leaders are some of the most highly trained leaders, because they have to be, because there's so many components that are thrown at you, and you want to be fair and equitable, but you also have to follow your own processes, which has worked for so long. So
Yes.
I know, Karen, you do a wonderful job with that. Now, Kathy, do you follow the same type of grant application when it comes to local nonprofits?
We do have, yes, we do follow. It's maybe not as extensive because we cover a smaller area than an entire county. We're covering Batavia, but we do, there's an extensive grant process. They fill out an application, submit their financials. It is our job and our board's job to understand these nonprofits and what are the outcomes and what are they doing. So rather than, because I often get the question, why would I give you my funds if I could just give them directly to
That's
this
a good
nonprofit?
question. Yeah, it's a good question.
So, and I think that's a great question, but also like, if I have money to invest, I don't necessarily do it by myself because I don't necessarily know all of the different funds or whatever. Obviously, I'm not a stockbroker, but it is my job to
Have a
understand
guy. Yeah, have a
profits.
guy.
And so we're almost the financial advisor of nonprofits. So if you give me, if you give our United Ways your funds, we are the ones that are looking at those financials. We're the ones that are making sure those outcomes are being met. So we are making sure that your donation goes to the most effective nonprofits in the area that serve your community.
Well, it's not given away willy-nilly. I mean, you're not
Right.
standing at
For sure.
the door giving a check away. And Sally, you've probably seen that just in the short amount of time that you've been with Eastern LaSalle County, that there's a real process to this. This isn't
Absolutely.
taken
And
lightly.
we do have community members that are on our community investment committee, as well as some board members. And we do the site visits, the application process, review the financials. And I think Kathy said that beautifully, that we do the homework for you. So we know that when we give XYZ organization this money, that money is really being spent on providing meals to, elderly folks in our community. So, and the money that each United Way gives stays within those communities. So when I donate to, or when we invest in Meals on Wheels in Ottawa or in our communities, Ottawa's our biggest community, but it's serving people in just those areas. So it's not serving people in Batavia or Grundy County or outside of our area. So we really do, our agencies have to break it down by zip code for us. So to make sure that our funding is staying within our local area.
Meals on Wheels is such an important thing. My mother used to deliver Meals on Wheels, and I used to deliver with her. And I was in high school at the time, and because my parents were very involved, Red Cross, the Meals on Wheels, United Way, and I can remember crying a lot.
Yeah.
And because we were a good, stable, middle class family, and my dad worked really hard, and my mom served on boards all over, and bookkeeper by trade. And we went to this one home, and it was down by Handy Foods. Okay, and it was a little old house with a little old lady, and my mom said, "I want you to go in this time." Well. And my mom followed me in, and she said, her name was Harriet. She said, "Harriet, are you eating? Or are you giving all your food to your dog?
Oh.
Because Harriet, you look thin to me." So my mother went with our own money and bought a huge bag of dog food that took 2 of us to carry in. And my mom said to Harriet, "Eat your own food. Now he's got his food. Okay, I want to see you putting some weight back on, Harriet." And so the delivery people for Meals on Wheels are doing wellness checks
Absolutely.
every time they deliver a meal. And I didn't understand that until I started doing it with my mom, because I think we have to start a volunteer revolution, right? I mean, I've been talking about that. I've been, writing about that. I'm telling everybody that, we have to start this again. I have these wonderful memories of growing up volunteering. And when our son was little, I got him involved, right? Whether it was serving communion at PVL from our church, which he took off with some old guy in a wheelchair running down the hall, and the minister and I are chasing him. But I mean, it started young, and to this day he still has that servant's heart. And I think if we don't start that revolution again, it's not going to start on its own. How do you get volunteers? How do you get that? How do you get volunteers anymore? I mean, because you have to be careful, right? Who you're getting.
Yes.
Karen, how are you doing this?
It's difficult, and it's changed. It's changed since the pandemic. It's really changed, because not only is it difficult for our United Way, we have our days of service. You have those companies that come to you and say, "Hey, we want 200 of our employees to look good in a t-shirt, axing a tree down." Okay, take pictures, and they leave, and they do a great job, but then they're gone. And so I think the engagement is based on their time. And so to come up with regular volunteers, we really have to kind of create opportunities for them, because they're not just going to knock on our door and say, "Hey, I want to give some time." We have to create those opportunities, those platforms for people to be able to volunteer. And our agencies are seeing the same thing. Now our partner agencies are kind of honing back a little bit on allowing volunteers. You've got to do background checks. There's got to be a certain age. Is it court ordered, or are you doing it out of the kindness of your heart? What is the reason behind this volunteer coming to you? in the first place. So it's a lot of work, not only to engage, but to retain and then to create new opportunities for volunteers.
Are you seeing
It's a
that?
challenge.
Are you seeing that too, Kathy?
Yes, we do see some challenges with volunteers, but we are trying very much to create a variety of different kinds of opportunities that meet the needs of, like Karen was saying, of each individual volunteer. So we have a couple of things that we've just, or one in particular right now, we're in the middle of winter, even though it feels like spring right now. We have our volunteer snow shoveling program, which pairs one person with a driveway of a senior citizen in Batavia, and they adopt that driveway for the entire season. Snow Angels is our program, and we love it
Oh.
dearly. Thank you. But that's somebody who, doesn't necessarily want to be one-on-one with may not be somebody who wants to be one-on-one, hand-holding with a person, but has, the physical grit to go out there and shovel somebody's driveway, but doesn't need to be in direct contact with people. So we have things like that. We have lots of, we just did our Valentine's Day card drive for our isolated seniors with that, you can make Valentine's Day cards just to help our seniors know that they're being thought of and still loved.
I love that. Love it.
Yeah, thank you.
That's sweet.
And then, we have our events, and we tap into our high schoolers and our scout troops throughout our community. And I find myself, I feel that we are very lucky here in Batavia because Batavians have a service heart for sure. And so we do get a lot of volunteers, but not consistently throughout the year. So we are brainstorming ways in which to, activate that service heart in a variety of different ways.
Well, it's that constant volunteer that you're looking for, that this is what they like to do. This is how they want to spend their time, is to help serve other people and really don't expect anything out of it. Those people have the biggest servants' hearts, and we all know them. And so, in Ottawa's got a lot of cool people.
We do.
And former Ottawa gal, because I still have an office in Ottawa. Are you finding that too? Are you having good luck with volunteers, Sal, or are you struggling a little bit?
So our biggest event every year is it's called Labor of Love.
Okay, we're gonna get into that. Why don't we get into that? Because that's my favorite thing ever.
Okay.
My husband and I did it for years.
Okay. So you just want me to keep talking about it?
I want you to get into the Labor of Love. It's my favorite event ever. Go ahead. Talk about
Labor of Love. This will be its 34th year this October.
I mean,
so it is. Yeah, it's the first Saturday of every October, and we have over 200 volunteers that show up that day. But we start that actually in April is when we'll start. So we do free home repairs for elderly, disabled, veterans, people that might have a financial hardship for whatever reason, and they have to meet income requirements. We fill out an application, and it's for homeowners. So, we verify that they own their home and they're up to date on their taxes and insurance and those kind of things. But the biggest part of the interview process is we do talk to them, because looking at all those things on paper doesn't always tell the full story. So after we interview them, we have a team of volunteers. And in some instances, this past October, it was the third generation for the family of people volunteering. So
that's just
grandfather. We have one gentleman who's been on our planning committee for a long time. His dad started him in this program when he was 9. And now he started his son was a little bit older, but 10-year-old son was volunteering alongside him this past year. So we see that continuing through families. Like you said, Sally, it really is. It is something that generations have done together and are continuing to do. So we are very blessed with that. But we serve about, it depends on the year, but around 27 homeowners a year.
That's a
And
lot.
That's a lot.
yeah. And so the homeowners go in, or our volunteer planning team goes in, reviews. So the homeowner will give us a list of 2 or 3 things that they really want done. It could be anything from, you know, painting a window to we got to replace the windows. So when our volunteers are in there and they're looking at the home and assessing what needs to be done, they might notice that, oh, there's no switch in that outlet. We need to fix that. And we always check furnaces, change the furnace filters, do those kind of things on every single home. So then that committee comes back. We have a meeting, we discuss what we're going to do, and what needs to be done. And then we get a team together.
And you have great donations. I mean,
we really do. Constellation Energy has been a signature sponsor for many, many years.
Yeah.
But we have so many different organizations in our community that support this. And then just the volunteer. We have, banks will put a team together and, they'll all put a team together. We have different groups. They kind of compete over t-shirt designs and those kind of things. We feed them breakfast, we feed them lunch, all volunteer, all donated. And it is truly a remarkable day.
It really is. I really encourage local people to get involved with this because I raked a lot of brush over the years.
Yeah.
They
do that.
Yeah, we want you to put in this, this grab bar for the shower. I go, oh, I'm not the girl you want to do that to. I said, I'll clean it when it's done. But, my husband won't even let me use a hammer around the house. So, I just tend to hammer anything. As I get mad, I hammer things. So, and my husband, of course, was involved through IBEW 176.
Yes. The labor unions are incredibly supportive.
Labor unions are amazing, and non-labor workers as well. It takes It takes a village to make a village safe, and that's what your labor of love is all about.
And the goal is we want people to stay in their homes. People want to stay in their homes, and we want them to be able to stay in their home and be warm, safe, and dry.
Well, and secure.
And secure. And we'll put in ramps. We'll, change doorknobs from the round to the lever because it's easier. As you get older, it's easier to work the lever doorknobs. So it's little things like that our team of volunteers is amazing at. And I'll be really honest, they run the program, our volunteer planning committee. I do the backside of it. I talk with the folks. I make sure the bills are paid, and do those kind of things. But it really is, I just try to stay out of the volunteers' way because they have been doing this. It is an incredibly well run program that we do. We actually have a video up because it is hard to describe what it really is and what it means to these homeowners. And Sally, you mentioned that you were crying when you went and took a meal to somebody. My first year of doing this, I couldn't even tell you how many times I cried that day. And to see people so grateful. One woman said it best. She said, "You didn't just fix my house. You gave me back dignity."
Oh,
wow.
I know. And see, I even get teared up just thinking about that.
I do too. And
because I can hear her voice and I know what it means. I know what it means to these people, but this is, it's one of those programs, but we do have a video on our website that shows a little bit about the day. It's a little long of a video, but it really does show
it's worth it.
Everything that goes into that day. So we actually, some houses are finished right away because it's, we're able to get it done in a day. Sometimes we have to get outside professional people in because we don't want our volunteers re-roofing a house because
No.
There's a lot of,
There's a lot
stuff.
to roofing a house. Yeah. There's
A lot
Yeah.
could go wrong there.
We
So
got great roofing companies.
we do. And so we do hire some of the work out, but most of it's done by volunteers and they're amazing. And the thing is, people say, oh, I don't have any skills. Like Sally said, but okay, Sally can't, we wouldn't want her to hammer in a big hole in the wall, but she certainly can rake a yard. She can trim bushes. She can haul garbage for somebody. She could help in the kitchen, feed our volunteers. So there is a role for everyone
Chris.
through this program.
Now, how
And
about children? Do you get children involved with this day too, Sally?
we do. So we do prefer that they're 12 and up, but
Well, obviously that's a really good idea. Yeah.
right. So, but yes, people, as long as they're with their parent, they certainly can work. We've had high school teams, like sports teams that have come and
Right.
volunteered and done a house supervised by their coach, which is fine too. So,
Which is great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple
And
years
the
ago.
kids they learn a lot of skills too.
Well, they do, and they learn what volunteering is all about. And like I said, if we're going to create this volunteer revolution, we have to start with our children and our
Mhm.
grandchildren, and because we have to instill in them that servant's heart that really you're not really born with that. You develop that from a lifetime. So I love the United Way Labor of Love in Ottawa area. I think it's one of the most brilliant programs I've ever seen. Another brilliant program, and I see Dolly is watching us. Doll, Grundy County, I want you to talk about Karen Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
Yeah,
Is
we
this
are.
woman amazing to begin with, or what?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And
Oh.
talk about a giving heart.
Oh,
Dolly Parton is giving in so many ways. And one of the ways is for Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We are so excited at the United Way of Grundy County because it was always, being here 15 years, I'm like, we need the Imagination Library. And it just wasn't in the cards financially for us to do it because the United Ways take it on at their cost. It just wasn't, we didn't want to take away from the funding that we were granting out to our community partner agency. So we needed to pick a time that was perfect. And when the state of Illinois said they were going to help us out with some of the funding for a while, we figured it was time to jump in and try it. And so we launched our program in March of 24. We have, based on data, we have about 3,000 eligible children. And what that program is it is a every month for children from birth to age 5, they get a book, a high quality, age appropriate book mailed to them in their little name every month for free, no matter the family's income. So that we're not looking at whether or not it's low income or what your income is. If you have a child that is needing to be introduced to literacy and to be ready for kindergarten, then you sign your child up. And so currently right now we have about 800 children. We have far exceeded the percentage that what they estimated we would have. 6 months in, we were about 20% over the estimation. So we had to do a lot of fundraising. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I can't wait to grow this program. But what we've learned is we can write some grants that we've never been able to write before. Because of course we're a funder, right? We're a funder, and there's not a lot of grants that United Ways can write if they don't have an in-house program. Now we have a program. And so there's a lot of grants that we are able to write for, literacy grants, as well as donors who maybe have never donated to us before, but they have a passion for children and early learning. And they're like, wait, United Way is doing that? Where can I donate? Where can I sponsor a child for a year? So it's created opportunities for our United Way to engage with donors who have never really thought to give to United Way for one reason or another. And so we're just excited. We're coming up on our first year, and we can't wait to just let it continue to grow.
That's amazing. And at the end of the first year, are you going to dress like Dolly?
No, but I'd love to meet her. I'd love to meet her. I keep asking every time I have a network meeting with the Dollywood Foundation, and they're like, yeah, we have never met her either. And I'm like, darn.
Well, she's busy, but I think you all need to dress like Dolly Parton for a day. And I want pictures,
Okay,
please.
all right.
I love this Imagination Library. I know it's not a cheap program for United
Yeah.
Way to invest in. But it doesn't matter how much money you have. Some people aren't readers. And
Right.
it's important. And can you imagine being a little kid and getting a book in the mail once a month and it's got your name on it? I mean, this is
Yeah.
a big deal for our littles.
I was just at a community expo the other night and I met one of the children who was on it because we don't get to meet them, of course.
Right.
And I met the child who was in one of our communities. And they're like, oh, they absolutely love this. Thank you so much for doing this. My child thinks it's Christmas, thinks it comes from Santa every month.
Oh,
And that's okay. That's all
yeah.
right.
Dolly is her own special Santa. That's for darn.
Yes.
So thank you all for doing that. Now, Kathy in Batavia, you've got a Success by Six preschool scholarship program I wanted you to highlight.
Yes, yes. We, as I said earlier, we try to look at where the gaps exist, and we don't have a Head Start program here in Batavia. And so our littles who can't afford preschool are not attending anywhere. They're not getting any preschool support. And so we have built this Success by Six preschool scholarship where we fund with our preschool partners here in Batavia. We fund preschool for our kiddos. And, you know, if you guys have little ones, you know, preschool's not cheap. It can be anywhere from a couple of thousand up to a couple of thousand of dollars for a school year. So we work with our preschool partners and we identify kids who otherwise would not be able to afford to go to preschool, and we fund their preschool for them. But we're not just a funder here. Our committee works with that family to make sure to help them fill out the forms that need to be filled out. They work with that family to figure out which preschool is going to be the best fit. Do we have a child who's potty trained? Do they have the materials that they need to support this child? We connect them with our own Dolly Parton Imagination Library because we also have that. So, you know, we go beyond just the writing a check. And so we're really trying to help support them, not only in the funding piece, but also just understanding the culture of being school ready and academic ready. Because, you know, our preschoolers, the job of a preschooler is to socialize and maybe follow the agenda of someone other than themselves so that they can be ready for academics when it comes time. And that's one of the things that we do here at Batavia. United Way is the Success by Six preschool scholarship that we're really super proud of.
Well, it amazes me. I mean, we have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and she's in preschool and or pre-K or whatever you want to call it. That's it's a ton of stuff that they learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's really important. I think people don't realize how important these type of Head Start pre-program preschool programs really are.
Well, and it's more now post-pandemic more than ever. We're seeing kids who, you know, they're struggling with just being ready for school. Just
Well, the social skills were like
yes,
halted
social
for
skills.
a year or so, and that we've seen a lot of fallout from that. I think you probably all agree with that. Now, we talked about, you know, creating this volunteer revolution. Okay, I've talked about creating this volunteer revolution. I'm not gonna get it back up, but I mean, we'll see what it's going to do. Talked about being a constant volunteer and being a catalyst for the development change of sometimes it's mindset of people as to what a United Way actually does and who you fund. So how do you raise money? I mean, if you're giving out all this money, where are you getting your money? Where's it coming from?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Sally, where you get your money?
So United Way has typically, and the people of Karen and Kathy who have much more experience than I do. I'm actually writing stuff down as you guys are talking, because I'm going to call you and
So
steal
am I.
borrow
I
your
know you guys have some
ideas.
great ideas.
There's some
Yeah,
great ideas. There's some keywords. There's some. I've been
absolutely.
doing this a long time, and I'm like, oh, I got to get a better pen. So
Yeah. So if you see me doing this, that's what I'm doing.
that's
I'm
okay.
learning.
We learn from each other, right?
Absolutely. So the United Way has traditionally done a very large employee campaign where people could donate to the United Way by having, $1 a week taken out of their paycheck, or, whatever their pay schedule is. And we do still have some of that. But I'm going to sneeze.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh
that's
my goodness, we're going to have
that's
to
the
edit
cutest
that out,
sneeze.
Sally.
Yeah, that's the cutest sneeze ever. Okay.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't one of those, really nasty ones.
Well,
Anyway.
Okay.
So that has been a very traditional way. That has decreased quite a bit especially for our United Way. I think United Ways across the country. One of the biggest things that we do is we do just ask. We ask different corporations, we ask individuals. We have worked very hard over the last year to increase our presence out in the community. So we're doing, Ottawa has a lot of very fun summer festivals, and like most small towns do. And so we do try to be at many of those. Obviously, we can't be everywhere. But we do participate in a lot of those different events to let people know about Dolly Parton and 211 and some of our other programs that we offer. And raising awareness, because like you said, Sally, there's a lot of people out there that go, I don't even know what you do.
They don't.
So for us, that's been one way. We since I've taken over just 18 months ago, we're looking to add some additional fundraisers into the mix this year. So
I've given you a really good idea. I'm not going to tell anybody
did.
about it, but if you don't do it, I'm giving it up, Sal.
all right,
Tell
all
everybody.
right, I'm on it.
I still think you need a Dolly Parton Day. I think you all need to Dolly Parton Day.
So we're partnering with a local art gallery, and we're doing it's called Crafting for a Cause, which sounds like, to me, crafting is like, give me scissors and tape and here's my little hand angel. But we're making mosaics.
Oh,
So I know I've always wanted to learn how to do that.
yeah, I don't know.
So we're actually doing that. It is March 14th. All the proceeds go to us, but it is very limited space, as you can imagine. So there's 40 tickets available. Well, actually only 39 because I have one. But so it's something a little bit different, and all the proceeds from that are going to support our Dolly Parton program.
Nice.
So
nice.
yeah.
And Karen, what about you?
Yeah, so we still do some corporate presentations for their giving campaigns. But like Sally said, a lot of that has changed. Some companies are kind of backing away from calling it their United Way campaign. Now it's their giving campaign. They're opening it up to other organizations, including soccer clubs and, PTAs and things that they could give to, which I appreciate the fact that a donor should have a choice. But we're kind of losing that spotlight platform that we have been given in the past. So we've had to come up with some creative ways, like Sally said, directly contacting those companies and saying, hey, I know you're not having us visit anymore, but we sure would like an opportunity to still engage. We are starting to write more grants now that we're able to with our Dolly Parton Imagination Library, as well as we have the 211. So we can kind of write for some of those grants. We still do an annual mailing, and my board wants me to stop, but I will not stop doing an annual mailing. First of all, we get a great rate for sending out letters for our bulk rate. And we have what we call on this list, what we call our loyal givers. These are givers who have given more than 10 years, but the mailing is the only time they give. And so I won't give up that opportunity to connect with them. They say, don't connect with us, don't contact us all year long. Keep us posted on what you're doing. Don't ask me for money except for one time a year. And they give a lot. So I won't lose that connection, even if the mailing, dwindles down to a small amount. Those are people that we engage with just one time.
Well, St. Jude does it. They raise an enormous amount of money every
Right.
year with those little stickers. And I mean, I give at Christmas time because I'm like, oh, they're going to send me my little Christmas stickers,
Yes.
And so they're still doing it. So there's large organizations that it still matters. And those people, Karen, you know what they want. Why would you not
Absolutely.
do a letter,
Absolutely. And with that said, I think saying thank you makes a huge difference. And so we make sure that when we do have donors, we thank them. Each one is getting a letter. It could be a handwritten letter from me. I think it's so important because a thank you goes a long way, and they will come back. And we were left in someone's will, and I only met the guy one time, but he was a loyal giver, more than 10 years, small amount each year, and then he blessed us with leaving us in his will. So you don't know what you're doing when you say thank you, but it's important that you do.
Well, you don't know what someone's worth.
No.
You have no idea. I mean, I think Howard Hughes taught us all that. Nobody knows what you're actually worth. I don't think it's anybody's business, but
Right.
the bequeathing your organization is a wonderful way to go. Funeral homes need to know United Way
Yes.
does accept bequeaths. So I think that's really and it's a cool word to say. Kathy, what about you?
Well, kind of along the same lines as what Sally and Karen have said, we do the same sorts of things. In addition, we have a couple of fundraisers, signature fundraisers that we do every year. I know you want me to talk about this, Sally, so I will.
Well, I love. You have two that I absolutely adore. One is your
Thank
soups
you.
on, and one is your bat race. And
Yes.
and if I'm running, it's something big is chasing me.
So
A bat?
we have three
It's
signature
something
events.
big and mean, and that's the only way I'm running. Our son is a jogger, and I'm like, I don't. Where did you get that? So, because seriously, I don't think God intended me to run. But these are really fun events, and your soups on. I've been to when I was working in Aurora.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for coming. So
Well,
this
you're
is
welcome.
coming up actually next week is our
It's-
Soups on soup tasting event.
It's so fun.
This is a fundraiser that we do every year annually. And we spotlight 12 local restaurants who donate soup. And with your ticket, you get to taste, you get a 3-ounce sample of each soup, each of the local soups. And we all get together in one of the local restaurants here. And it's just a really nice time for fellowship and community, and then tasting all the different soups. You
Can
end
you
up with
still buy the bowl?
196 ounces of soup.
Can you still buy the bowl? Didn't she used to sell bowls?
No. That might have been many, many, many years ago. Sorry, Sally. Prior to COVID. Maybe.
Yeah, I used to be able to buy a bowl, and I would buy a bowl. Had United Way logo on it, and I get to go around with my own bowl. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
We don't have that one anymore.
I'm disappointed about the whole thing, but okay.
Sorry. Maybe we'll think about bringing that back. We'll think about
Talk
that.
to me about that. I can help you with the bowl. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so so that's the Soups On event that happens next week for us, is every March. We also
Good
do
luck.
the bat race, which
love
is
that.
our 5K, 10K Halloween themed run the Saturday before Halloween, which is a super fun event. We have about 700 runners that come out for that.
Oh yeah, it's
Wow.
Runners,
Wow.
walkers,
Yeah.
kids, the whole 9 yards. It's a lot of fun. And then our other signature event is our community dinner table event, which we close down a street in downtown Batavia and set up one very long table that's all connected with about 200 to 250 people seated. Again, featuring local restaurants, prepare food, and we get together in community to share share a meal together.
I
And so that's a
love
really fun event.
that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we just started doing that one.
Sally, you need to do that
Inherited
for
that
another
event from
event.
another
Yeah, I love that.
organization. Yeah, so that one's a super fun happening. We just chose the date for this year in September. So September 7th, I believe.
That's
on a Monday.
awesome.
Yeah, so with all of
Very
our
cool.
events are very community focused, bringing the community together to celebrate in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, I think that's so important. I really,
Yeah.
I think that's because, you know, nonprofits make the world go round. They really do. I mean, where are these people going to get assistance? Sometimes just to live if we don't have strong nonprofits. And what I love the most about United Way is that you have a process by which you're making sure the nonprofit that's receiving funds is stable, strong, in good standing with the state, which is most important. And so you're already doing all the homework for all these people, you know, because people email me at Christmas, who should I donate to this year? I said, United Way. Well, but they have money. I go, okay, but here's what they do. I mean, I've been explaining to people for years what United Way does. So this makes me so happy that you're all telling everybody what United Way does, because I think it's so important. What else do you think people need to know before we go? What do they need to know?
Well, we touched a little bit on it, but I think there's always a misconception that United Way is one massive thing. And so when I donate money in Grundy County to United Way, it's going to go off somewhere else. And that's not true. As Kathy was explaining, every community is separate, different, and apart from your neighbor. Our county is very close to both of these young ladies' counties as well, but we're so different and our needs are different. But the money stays here in our county, and it's to help those neighbors. It's to help the people you see at church, the ones you see at Jewel. It's to help your families as well. And I think there's a big misconception that all United Ways work under one umbrella, although we share the same logo, name, and maybe focus pillar areas. We're very different, and the money stays here. And if we had a donor that wanted to give to us, but said, look, I'd like to also give to where my grandma lives in Metro Chicago, we would do that. We're a nice pipeline to be able to, wherever the person wants their money designated is where it goes. And so we're able to do that as well. But I think there's that misconception that we all pool our money together, and that's not true. We pool all the donors' money together within our community, but we're not all connected financially. We don't have the same board of directors, and we all have our own separate 501c3s.
Well, and you know what I think it'd be fun for you to do one day is to do a shift. Kathy goes to Grundy County, Sally goes to Batavia, Karen goes to Ottawa.
I'll have to clear that with my board.
I think a one day in someone else's United Way would be a fun,
Eye-opening.
eye-opening and a fun day.
Yeah.
I think you've learned a lot from each other just here today. Now, what about Batavia? What do we need to finalize on your United Way?
I think that it's important to know that when you give, it's not just about funds, not just about money. If you can't give money, that's okay. You can give of your time, of your talent, of your heart. The volunteerism or just anything that you can give is gratefully accepted, because it takes more than just money to make the world go round. We certainly require, that the sweat equity, that we need the help in just raking those seniors' leaves or shoveling that snow or, serving on that Success by Six committee. We need all kinds of gifts of whether it be time or talent or funds. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's pooling your resources and the local resources to help the most amount of people. So that's why I love it so much. Sal.
I would, just to take what Kathy said a little bit further, but you know, we all might think, well, I don't have any money. I don't have that much money. I can give you $5. What is that going to do?
A
Well, here's
lot.
the thing, that what United Way is really good at is we can take that $5 and we can combine it with 10, 20 other people that can give $5. And then all of a sudden, we're impacting somebody's life.
Yeah.
So you might not think that that small gift can do much. But let me tell you, we can do a lot with it. And when we combined it together, it is that community coming together and helping each other out is really what it comes down to. So it doesn't have to be a big donation. You know, some of the most meaningful ones to me have been from elderly people that you could tell that it's an elderly person because of the handwriting and, you know, the check it's a smaller amount, but those mean a lot because I know that that $5 donation, that was a lot for that person. And I'm so incredibly grateful for any and all, but that again, that's where United Way, we pull everybody together and we make it work.
Well, I so appreciate your time today because, like I said, people think United Way is where you go to get a gas card or housing allotment or whatever they need, when it's not. It's United Way funds those people's nonprofits that do that. Because
Mhm.
every nonprofit has a specific reason to it. And you know, when I'm helping somebody with their nonprofit, I'll say, "What's your mission?" "Well, I don't know. I have to look it up." I said, "Then you need a shorter mission.
Yep.
You need to know your mission. Because if you creep off that mission, you're not doing what you're supposed to do." But it's easier, right? Well, it's easier to do it the other way. Running a United Way is not an easy venture. I know that. I know that better than most people because I work with you. And Karen has trained me really well over the years to understand what goes into it, and being so good at grants like Karen is, and understanding that. And when she was teaching for me, I learned so much. I mean, people in the class are looking at me going, "Well, she's great." And I said, "Well, could you shut up? I'm trying to write down what she's saying." Because you know it's difficult to do that because they keep changing
Mhm.
all the time, and the rules and regulations keep changing all the time, and it's like, stop it. So nobody appreciates you more than I do.
Thank
I
you.
am so thrilled with the three of you. I am so thrilled with United Way and what they do. And I really hope people listen to this video twice so they can hear exactly what goes into the United Way. And when somebody asks you for a volunteer for an hour or a $10 donation, please do that. And don't do it alone. We don't need silo volunteers.
Right.
We need groups of volunteers, your bunco group, your poker group, your pickleball group, whatever group. Come together and do something. It will make you feel so good. And I've shed a lot of tears over the years volunteering. Maybe that's why I'm on this end mostly now, making sure that you're set up correctly, because I can't just bawl my way through life. Right? I can't go through life just going, "Did you see that? Did you see that? No, she's not eating your food." I mean, so it's just like, I don't know. I cry over commercials with puppies and kids too. So I don't
Oh, yeah.
right? I don't know. And then once I became a grandmother, well, forget about it.
Oh,
So, I mean, that changes. But so from the bottom of my heart to the bottom of your hearts, thank you for everything that you do. I will put information on here when I figure it out about getting in touch with you. It's Grundy County United Way. and Karen Nall, the director there. It's Kathy Evangelista and the Batavia United Way, and it's Sally Honiotes and the United Way of Eastern LaSalle County. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you.
so much.
Here's my heart.
Oh,
Aw.